Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about titles. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, why is it that some people in software engineering management update their titles on LinkedIn to things like technology leader instead of titles such as senior manager or director? Well, because in middle management, most things are about perceived value and appearances for like the vast majority of the people who are trying to make a career as managers. It's extraordinarily difficult to create a sensation of value for a manager. Most of the things that you are hired based upon, the thing that determines your career for you, is the CV itself. Like the things that you have been involved in, like the weight of things. How many successful projects have you had? What companies have you been working for how long? Like what are your values and so forth. And so the experience part is the thing that matters for the vast majority of them, and that creates a very large, perverse almost incentive for a lot of managers to basically do the thing that the inexperienced software developers are doing, which is to inflate to add everything that they've ever done to their CV, and to give the weight of their CV to give as much weight as possible towards their CV. And that's why you can get people who have they pick up titles like thought leaders or similar sort of nothing titles, which mean absolutely nothing. It's simply a way for them to brand themselves as holding a specific type of role and a specific type of value. They're basically inventing their own job to a certain degree, and or they are trying to capture all the things that they have been doing in a role, if that makes sense. And the truth of the matter is, guys, that the value that this does work to a large extent, where it gets to a point where your people skills vastly outweigh the it's more about people skills at this level than it is about hard technical skills. But you do have to have, to a certain degree, something that makes the people who are going to hire you to do all those people things, like they have to feel comfortable hiring you. That's what it comes down to. And it's basically marketing. If you think, if you want me to go all the way with this, it is in essence marketing what they're doing. When you get to this level of work as a manager, you're not really doing any of the coding. You're not actually doing anything related to how to you're not going to lead anyone in a technical discussion. I can promise you that much. The vast majority of managers get in engineering get by one and only one thing, and that is that they know how to facilitate. That's it. Facilitate. And what I mean facilitate, I mean literally they know how to ask other people to go to a meeting and discuss ideas of how to solve a problem that they don't know how to answer or solve. And they can be technology leaders, etc., etc. They can take whatever minute knowledge they have of concepts or whatever buzzwords that they are keeping up with and add that to a conversation, and that is enough for them, because that little sprinkle of knowledge is enough for them to swing that they can manage engineers and so forth. But the people who are actually making the informed decisions, who are actually know what they're doing, are the software developers. And guys, I've worked with people who have they spend more time on social media promoting themselves and their thoughts, and it's not all they're doing is literally only regurgitating other articles, because it's a business, guys. Being a consultant in this way, guys, is this is a business. And the thing you're selling is your own brand. That's what you're doing. And so they spend a lot. It's in a sense it's like being an influencer or like a TikTok star or something like that. You're trying to promote yourself That's what it comes down to, so that people will will look at you as some type of authority figure or some type of expert. And I've been in some of the conversations with some of these people who get hired, and like they get consultancy gigs for the silliest things that you can imagine. And I've talked to them and I go, this person can't actually do this. This person can talk about it. He has read a lot of stuff about different assets. Like, I mean, he doesn't have a single piece of original. Doesn't have a single original idea, as far as I can tell. He's simply regarded. I can even reference some of the articles. He's read the Netflix article. This guy has read the books on SRE from Google. This guy has been doing this. I mean, I've read the same fucking content. And I can hear when someone has a genuinely original idea, and when someone's simply repeating something somebody else thought of. And that is something that is very real. It does happen, and it happens a lot. I've worked with a few teams in my day where we've been hiring engineering managers, and you will probably not be surprised that there's quite a few of them who will promote their technical knowledge because they know that that's the thing that matters. That's like, nothing is the gold standard in IT is technology knowledge. You have to know tech, and so they of course try to pad their CVs with that as much as possible. And then I get to talk to them, which, funnily enough, they're not prepared for, because the average tech company hires engineering managers in a similar way as you can imagine the people who hire any manager does. You don't actually test them all that hard on their technical skills. You are basically trying to find someone, as I've said, who has the majority of their skills in people, and then a little bit of technology knowledge, and so forth and so forth. And then they talk to someone who really knows that stuff, and usually all the claims that they have goes from, like, it just crumbles. Like, you basically realize that all of this is sort of bullshit. Like, they know a little bit of this one thing here, and that's it. All this other stuff is just things that they tried once. It's sort of the equivalent of you claiming to know a programming language after going through a single syntax course once. Like, it's the equivalent of you taking one of those boot camp things where learn JavaScript in a day or learn JavaScript in a week or something like that. You're going to have exactly the same level of skill as these people do in this area, but they get this stuff because it's a way for them to fulfill a checkbox. And I even went to school with one of these guys where he wanted to be a manager or like a scrum guy, or etc., etc. But the problem was that everybody asked for tech skills, and he didn't have any. So he took an education. He learned like the basics of programming, and checkbox checked. He knows how to program. Well, no, he was actually not. He was barely getting by. I'm pretty sure that he's never coded, or more or less not coded since then. But that wasn't his focus. He wanted to be a manager, but management needs tech skills. And so this is sort of what's happening usually when people make these sorts of titles. They're simply trying to brand themselves as some type of technical leader or someone who is, good at managing technology within a company. And there are others like this. Like, if you want to have like really fluffy titles, you can say SRE manager or something like that, site reliability engineering, and so forth. Like, these titles, guys, they are very complicated to define, and there are a lot of people who simply don't know any better, and so they will be, in a sense, I'm not saying duped, but they're gonna end up hiring people or looking at people's titles because that's all that you really have to go on. And then like the CV seems to be like something great, they've been doing all of this work, etc., etc., and then they get into the interview, and then everything is really not. It's not about fact checking any of this or checking whether or not they know this stuff. It's about them having the right personality and experience with people, because that is actually what they really want. It's just that, as I've said before, managers within IT and like IT companies overall have a problem, and the problem is that the thing that they are trying to manage is a highly technical field. Software engineering and software developers are very technical people, and it's becoming more the gap of understanding is growing, where the only people at this point, like the managers, don't know fuck all about what's going on in the engineering department, and that is causing problems, and they're trying to fix that. It's just that they don't even know, they hardly ever know how to fix it, and so a lot of this stuff slips through. So what I want you to take away from this is that if you see people using very fancy titles, you can think of it as a similar thing to them branding themselves. It's what it comes down to. It's no different from someone trying to embellish their CV or take very extra nice stock photos or something like that. They're trying to grab attention for their profile in some way, basically. And usually it's a mismatch of like them trying to figure out what skills they have and how they can brand those skills in a way that makes people interested in connecting with them and like hiring them for different positions and so forth and so forth. But this is where I usually tell companies that if you want someone who basically just know how to manage people, or like if you want to screen people well, do the same thing you do with the software developers. You don't have to give a technology leader or like a senior manager or like something like that a code test per se, but you can put them in a conversation with a mature, non-hostile software developer and then just have a conversation with them. And usually they will be able to tell you how much these people actually know about technology at all. Like, it doesn't matter what they say on the CV. They can say anything on their CV because, as I said, I can check every single box in the world. I could have every job in the world if I just like massage the definition to mean like the barest minimum. The classic one is, as I like to say, you're technically an author if you've ever written a letter or an email or a shopping list. Cool, put that on your CV. That's probably going to be pretty impressive. Until such a time you get to talk to someone who really knows their stuff. And then the things to actually, like, you will start to see whether or not they know anything. And that's what I've been recommending. It's what I've been doing at my last job as well. And it works pretty well. Like, the conversations are usually very high level. You ask people about like basic things about tech that the company wants them to know about, and you can hear very quickly whether or not they actually know anything or not, because you can't fake experience that you don't have. Basically, have a great day.